Welcome to the deep dive. Imagine finding a document, an ancient one, that's both this incredibly harsh critique of society and a blueprint for a, well, completely different future.
That's a great way to put it.
Today, that's exactly what we're diving into. We're exploring some really profound parts of the book of Isaiah. It's this amazing collection of visions, prophecies about ancient Judah, Jerusalem, the whole region, really.
And our source for this is the text itself, chapters 1 right through to 66. It's quite a sweep.
Right. And our mission, our goal here, is to pull out the key insights. We want to look at Isaiah's, frankly, unflinching look at rebellion, both personal and national.
And the judgments that follow, which are pretty powerful.
Definitely. But also these breathtaking visions of hope and restoration at the end. There are some surprising things in here, things that still feel relevant.
Absolutely timeless in many ways.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning then. Isaiah's opening, it doesn't pull any punches, does it? What's the core problem he tackles right away?
No, it's immediate and stark. He calls on the heavens and the earth to listen up because the Lord is speaking.
And what's the message?
I reared children and brought them up, but they have rebelled against me. Right there in verse 1.2. And what's really striking is that tone. It's like a parent deeply disappointed.
That parental angle is interesting.
It is, and that he uses this comparison that's almost, well, painful. He says, the ox knows his master, the donkey his owner's manger, but Israel does not know, my people do not understand.
Wow. Like even animals get it, but the people don't.
Exactly. It points to this profound ignorance, but maybe even a deliberate kind of ignorance, a refusal to see.
So not just ignorance, but maybe willful blindness. And the text gets really graphic about the results, right? Almost physical descriptions.
Oh, absolutely. It describes the nation's condition. From the sole of your foot to the top of your head, there is no soundness. It's just wounds and welts and open sores, not even treated.
That's grim.
It is. It goes on. Their country's desolate, cities are burned, fields stripped bare by foreigners. It's this picture of complete decay, societal and physical, reflecting their spiritual state.
But here's where, for me, it gets really interesting. It's not just about, obvious bad deeds. He critiques their religious life, too. Their sacrifices, even those were wrong somehow.
Yes, and this really pushes you to ask, what is true worship? The text gives God's perspective, and it's pretty shocking for the time.
How so?
It says, the multitude of your sacrifices. What are they to me? Asks the Lord. I have more than enough. I have no pleasure in the blood of bulls and lambs and goats.
So all the religious motions were meaningless.
Worse than meaningless. He says, stop bringing meaningless offerings. Your incense is detestable to me. It's a powerful rejection of just going through the motions, the outward show, without any interchange.
Okay, so if the rituals are empty, what's the alternative? What does God actually want, according to Isaiah?
Well, the text lays it out very clearly. It's the antidote. Wash and make yourselves clean. Take your evil deeds out of my sight. Stop doing wrong. Learn to do right.
So, ethical action.
Exactly. Practical stuff. Seek justice. Encourage the oppressed. Defend the cause of the fatherless. Plead the case of the widow. That's the core. Social responsibility is the true act of faith here.
So, this disconnect between ritual and real justice, how did that play out in, the everyday life and leadership?
It paints a really bleak picture. Total corruption. It says, your rulers are rebels, companions of thieves. They all love bribes and chase after gifts.
So justice was for sale?
Pretty much. They do not defend the cause of the fatherless. The widow's case does not come before them. No. And then you get these pronouncements, these woes.
Like curses.
Sort of warnings, yeah. Woes against those grabbing land, add house to house, and join field to field till no space is left. Woes against those partying from dawn till dusk, lost in drink.
That famous one.
Right. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. It's describing a complete breakdown, top to bottom. The whole moral compass is shattered.
Is that related to the vineyard story?
Yes. The parable of the vineyard really sums it all up. God planted this choice vineyard, did everything right, expected good grapes, which symbolized justice.
But instead,
it produced only bad fruit, bloodshed, cries of distress. It's a powerful metaphor for the nation's failure.
Okay, so this internal mess, this rebellion and injustice, did it have external consequences, like on the world stage?
Oh, definitely. The internal state has huge external repercussions. The text brings in Assyria, the superpower of the day.
And how are they described?
Explicitly as the rod of my anger, in whose hand is the club of my wrath. So Assyria is presented as, believe it or not, an instrument of God's judgment against Judah.
God using another nation, even a ruthless one.
Exactly. But, and this is fascinating, even this instrument, Assyria isn't off the hook. They're going to be held accountable too.
Also.
Well, the text shows Assyria getting incredibly arrogant, boasting about its power, its conquests, listing all the kings they've crushed.
Yeah, you can almost hear the swagger.
You really can. But then God immediately challenges them. Does the axe raise itself above him who swings it, or the saw boast against him who uses it?
Putting them in their place.
Right, saying, you're just a tool, Assyria. Don't get any grand ideas. Their pride will lead to their own downfall. It's a check on imperial arrogance.
Which I guess leads us into that really dramatic story about King Hezekiah and the Assyrian siege of Jerusalem. The text goes into a lot of detail there, doesn't it?
It really does. Chapters 36 and 37 read almost like a historical thriller. Yeah. Sennacherib, the Assyrian king, he sweeps through Judah, takes all the fortified towns.
Leaving Jerusalem isolated.
Right. Then his top commander shows up at the walls of Jerusalem and launches this psychological warfare campaign.
Trying to break their spirit.
Totally. He mocks them for relying on Egypt, calls Egypt a splintered reed. He tells them not to trust Hezekiah, and especially not to trust their God.
Does he mention other gods?
Oh, yeah. He basically says, look at all the other nations we conquered. Where were their gods? What makes you think your God is any different? He even tries to get the people to surrender directly, promising them a better life under Assyrian rule.
That's intense pressure. So Hezekiah is facing this impossible situation. What does he do? What stands out about his response?
His response is really key. He doesn't try to fight rhetoric with rhetoric. Instead, he tears his clothes, puts on sackcloth signs of deep distress and mourning, and goes straight to the temple to pray.
A religious response, not a military one initially.
Exactly. And his prayer isn't just save us. It's an appeal based on God's reputation, God's uniqueness against Sennacherib's insults. He basically says, show him who you really are, the God over all kingdoms.
And the outcome. It's pretty stunning.
It's incredibly dramatic. Isaiah the prophet delivers God's message. Sennacherib won't even shoot an arrow into the city. He won't build siege ramps. He'll go home the way he came.
Yeah.
Then, the text says, the angel of the Lord went out and put to death 185,000 men in the Assyrian camp. Overnight.
Whoa.
Yeah. Sennacherib just packs up, limps back to Nineveh, and later on, according to the text, gets assassinated by his own sons while worshiping his God. It's a powerful, almost shocking display of divine intervention.
Okay, so we've seen this cycle. Rebellion, judgment, even this dramatic deliverance. But then the tone seems to shift quite dramatically in Isaiah, doesn't it?
Oh.
Towards hope.
It really does. It's like moving into a new act. After all the warnings and the destruction, you get these incredible, soaring visions of a completely different future.
What kind of future are we talking about?
Well, despite all the judgment, the long-term picture is one of deep peace, total restoration. You get one of the most famous prophecies. In the last days, God's temple mountain will be the highest, and all nations will stream to it.
And that leads to?
That famous image. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. No more war. Nation won't fight nation. They won't even train for war anymore.
That's a radical shift.
It is. And this future peace involves a new kind of ruler, described as a shoot coming from the stump of Jesse, Jesse being King David's father.
So a descendant of David, but coming from something that looked dead, like a stump.
Exactly, a sign of new life from almost nothing. And this ruler will have God's spirit judge fairly, especially for the poor, and bring about this era of harmony. That's where you get the wolf living with the lamb imagery.
It's such a contrast to the earlier chapters.
Yeah.
What does this mean for the people, for Israel, who went through all that judgment?
Well, there's a promise of return. God will reach out a second time to bring back the scattered remnants of his people from everywhere, Assyria, Egypt, all over. A regathering. And their response will change completely. Instead of rebellion, they'll say, I will praise you, O Lord. You have comforted me. Surely God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. It flips the script from despair to absolute joy and trust.
Is this hope just for Israel, though?
That's a great question. And the answer seems to be no, not exclusively. Later parts of Isaiah say God's house will be a house of prayer for all nations. Even foreigners who join themselves to the Lord will be welcomed, brought to his holy mountain. It suggests a much wider, more inclusive vision of redemption than you might initially expect.
That's really significant. Now, another big theme running through all this is God himself, his nature, especially compared to, well, man-made things. How does Isaiah talk about God?
This is central. It really tackles the question of ultimate reality. The text constantly asks this challenging question: to whom then will you compare God? What image will you compare him to?
Pushing back against idols.
Absolutely. The core message is God's total uniqueness. He's incomparable. And it starkly contrasts this with idols. There are these almost satirical descriptions of idol making.
Satirical. How so?
Well, it describes a craftsman casting an image, a goldsmith covering it in gold. Then later it gets even more specific. A guy cuts down a tree. He uses half for firewood to warm himself and cook his food.
Okay, practical.
Right. From the rest, he makes a god, his idol. He bows down to it and worships. He prays to it and says, "Save me, you are my God." The text just lays bare the absurdity. No one stops to think, shall I make a detestable thing from what is left? It's incredibly direct.
So undermining the whole idea of man-made gods, what does this say about the real God's power, his ability to act?
It emphasizes God's absolute sovereignty and his foreknowledge. He declares things like, I am the first and I am the last. Apart from me, there is no God. And crucially, I make known the end from the beginning. What is still to come, I say. My purpose will stand, and I will do all that I please.
So not just predicting, but directing history.
That's the claim, that God is actively orchestrating events according to his plan. And the most surprising example of this
is it Cyrus.
Exactly. The specific naming of Cyrus, the Persian king, centuries before he was even born. God calls him my anointed, my shepherd.
Even though Cyrus didn't worship Israel's God.
Right. That's what's so startling. God says Cyrus will rebuild my city and set my exiles free, not for payment, but because it's part of God's plan. It shows God using even foreign rulers unknowingly to fulfill his purposes. It's a radical idea of sovereignty.
Okay, as we kind of move towards the end of Isaiah's message, the focus shifts again, doesn't it? To this figure, the servant. This seems really central to the hope being offered.
It is. This is arguably one of the most influential and deeply moving parts of the whole book, these servant songs, as they're often called.
And what's this servant like?
Well, he's not what you'd expect from a hero figure. The text says he has no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He's despised and rejected, a man of sorrows, someone familiar with suffering.
So not a glorious king initially?
Not in appearance, but the crucial point, the absolute core of it, is why he suffers. It's explicitly not for his own sins.
For others, then?
Yes. The text is incredibly clear. Surely he took up our infirmities and carried our sorrows. He was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. It says the punishment that brought us peace fell on him, and by his wounds we are healed.
Profound substitutionary suffering.
That's exactly the concept. The Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. His suffering achieves something for everyone else. It's a foundation for the ultimate restoration.
So this suffering servant is key to the final outcome. Does the story end there with suffering, or does it connect to that grander vision you mentioned earlier?
It absolutely connects. The servant's work seems to make possible this ultimate breathtaking transformation. The final vision isn't just avoiding judgment, it's a whole new heavens and a new earth.
A complete reset.
Totally. The former things will not be remembered, nor will they come to mind. All the pain, the rebellion, the desolation, gone, replaced by joy.
What does that look like?
God says, I will create Jerusalem to be a delight and its people a joy. The sound of weeping and of crying will be heard in it no more. Even nature is transformed. The wolf and the lamb will feed together, and the lion will eat straw like the ox.
That image again, like in the earlier prophecy.
Yes, it comes back, showing this complete harmony. And Jerusalem gets new names: Hephzibah, which means my delight is in her, and Beulah, meaning married. It signifies this incredibly intimate, restored, joyous relationship, like the land itself is cherished again.
Wow. That's quite a journey from the opening critique. And it feels like it brings us back around somehow. Does this final restoration connect back to that initial call for justice?
It absolutely does. It's not just a magical transformation disconnected from human action. The final chapters strongly reiterate the need for ethical living.
How so?
The command comes again: maintain justice and do what is right. And true worship, the acceptable fast, isn't about looking pious, it's about practical compassion. Like to loose the chains of injustice, untie the cords of the yoke, set the oppressed free, share your food with the hungry, provide shelter for the homeless. These concrete actions are presented as the way to participate in God's light, the way rebuilding happens. It suggests our actions, our commitment to justice, are still crucial, even within this grand divine plan.
So today, we've really traced quite an arc in this deep dive into Isaiah. From that harsh opening indictment of rebellion and injustice,
And the consequences, the judgment, even on powerful nations like Assyria.
through that dramatic story of Hezekiah's deliverance, and then into these radical, unwavering promises of ultimate hope.
Centered around this unique idea of an incomparable creator, the futility of idols, and of course the pivotal role of that suffering servant figure.
All leading to this final, incredible vision of peace, a new creation where justice and righteousness finally prevail.
It's a massive scope, covering centuries of history and prophecy.
It really is. And, reading Isaiah like this, it keeps bringing you back to these fundamental questions, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About justice, our own responsibilities, what real faith looks like.
Definitely.
So here's a thought to leave you with. What might it actually look like for us in our lives, in our communities, if we really took seriously Isaiah's call to prioritize seeking justice, especially for the vulnerable, acting with integrity, believing that maybe those actions aren't just, good deeds, but are somehow tied into a deeper restoration, a flourishing that might go beyond what we can even see right now?
It's a challenging thought.
It is. What's one thing, maybe a surprising detail or a new understanding that stands out to you from digging back into Isaiah's powerful words today? We hope this deep dive leaves you not just well-informed, but also deeply curious for more. Until next time, keep diving deep.